Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here at the Wordshed NYC reading series. We're really excited because we have Dudrick Bevins, who is our featured poet for this evening, and it was really spontaneous and also very appropriate to have him be featured because he's been a participant and has become part of our group gatherings for the past couple of weeks or a few months, I don't know. But so I'm really excited because I think that it's great to help each other promote, their work and also encourage them to continue and kind of just, get it out there into the world. So I just want to introduce Dudrick, if you don't mind. Is that okay? I mean, yeah. So Dudrick is a queer Southern poet, interdisciplinary, being a practical anarchist. He believes in ludic play, specialization, and finds no greater joy than watching power fail. Oh, that was funny. He lives in New York, teaching literature and creative writing to high school students in Harlem, where he's also an MFA student at CCNY. He has published Georgia Dusk with Luke Curtis and Route 4 Box 358. His chapbook, My Feelings Are Imaginary People Who Fight for My Attention, is published by Poets Haven Author Series. And Dudrick enjoys making creative art in all forms, I think, and he loves animals first and then people second, which I also thought was funny. Because sometimes I say that when I meet really unpleasant people. So I hope that was a good intro. I can't wait to hear what you have for us today. And by the way, if you want to say something, that's totally, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you. Yeah, no, that was great. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here and to have made my way into the Wordshed family. So I'm just going to go ahead and start. You just cut me off when it's time. I'm going to start with a poem called And Fearless. And this poem was written about a week ago, maybe, when the Anne Frank Human Rights Memorial was vandalized by neo-Nazis, and they put swastikas on the memorial. So, and the sign with the swastika said, "We are everywhere." So this is And Fearless. "We are everywhere," says the swastika sticker on the Anne Frank Human Rights Memorial in Boise, Idaho. This must be Exhibit A in the Museum of Hate. We are everywhere, they scream, spinning on their pinwheels of segregation dreams in an assertion of what they fear of us. We, too, are everywhere, and all at once. We are everywhere, or they are, once fueled in a tidal wave of witch hunts from Salem to McCarthy microphones, but now the fascists unclaim uncanny pride, and I yawn. We are everywhere, they say, as if Anne Frank didn't hide in the walls with her desire to kiss Jacques in bed, as if our ecstasies didn't walk among their goose-step boots, in radiant anarchy, in communist rallies and socialist food banks and queer rebellion and feminist liberation and trans beauty, in every flake of dust that carries the whispers of Holocaust ghosts, and now, more than ever, in ash, in rallies, in protests, in bullet wounds healed, in the thunder of voices voices, in singing, in joy, in cleaning up the mess of sickness, in loving as loving nurses to a thirsty revolution, because we too are everywhere and fearless. Thank you. This is a poem a couple people have in here have heard different versions of, and I've given it a couple different titles, but this poem is about what if we had a poet for a president. So I wrote this close to the election for David Groff's class. It's been revised a couple times. Last Tuesday, I elected the first pansexual, agender, femdom, daddy bear to be my president. This was my gift to the world, 'cause the world cried out, we don't want no scientists, we don't want no alchemists, we don't want them learned astronomers, no wingback politicians or lawyer-tongued despots. We don't want nobody pro bonoing our sore pots no more. 'Cause the people cried out, we want a poet for president. But all the poets were dead, like really dead, and white, like really white, and dull, like you don't even know. But they were sitting in their graves with a love, nay, a madness for Shelley and Rimbaud. So I did the best I could. I took the parts left on the street from Staten Island to Minneapolis to the dirt road nothings of Georgia, and in just 7 days, I stitched up a man. Then I went grave robbing. Dug out all the poet skulls I could. I took the brains of the faggiest fag poets and the brains of the dykiest dyke poets and ice cream scooped their brain goop into one big bowl, and I mixed it with lime jello, then let it sit until solid, and god damn, I was proud. No president has ever been better than the one I made for America. He was as horny as Whitman was horny. He was as horny as Ginsberg was horny. He was as horny as Judy Grahn is horny, and goddamn Judy Grahn is horny. But all he wanted to do was not be president, because no good man wants to be the president. So I swallowed him. I unresurrected him. I buried them in my gut because I didn't want the world to find out that poets and artists just want to make and critique. They don't want to lead because people lead. All the young leaders get hard-ons on power, and everything hard corrupts. People just like to make a mess, and poets don't want to clean shit up. But then, bam! I said in their tongue, not my tongue or his tongue or her tongue, but yeah, our tongue, as we unmisgendered our teeth, and we now, one presidential being, one being full of action and fear and hesitation and rage, we spoke the first new poem of presidential speak and poem speak. We said, I hear America screaming. We said, I hear America pleading. We said, I fear I will never see a me as president. And yet, we said, no tag, I don't want to be it. And that's when we coughed, we burped, we farted, and all the supermarkets in California came falling down, just like London Bridge, but it wasn't even a song that it made a sound. It was a giant rolling egg of an office, oval rolling towards us, an office trying to crush our poet hearts and smash our presidential parts, because even at our most beautiful, as the most eclectically perfect, different, Netflix original by Ryan Murphy, inclusive being. The I in we could not stop being an idealist long enough to be an ideal for someone else. Listen, we're saying we don't want to be the president. We want to be a poet. But we are the people, and we need a poet for president. So fuck it. Hey, Maya Angelou, come swear us in, but leave the Bible at home. Can I get an amen? See, we only put our hands on the lines of Edward the Dyke and Howell. We will only swear to keep the moon a woman and neutral in the times of war. We will only promise to be one of many, a representative of the American primitives. We will ensure our cabinet is made up of leaves of grass, and that we will listen to the vespers and wild iris. We are saying poets don't write bills into laws. We write poems with claws, and we won't care about the politics of the executive branch. We, me, and the poet beast inside me, the warring twins of art and artifice, will instead take a stance. Oh, Zoe Leonard, hallelujah, happy day. We may have a dick, but this dick is on the first dyke poet to be your president. Thank you. So those were some newer things. This next piece is from earlier in the year. I was doing a writing project with my friend Alan from way back when I was a young gentleman in North Georgia, and he'd been going through a rough patch, and so we were writing emails basically through the local jail email system and sending them back and forth to each other. And I was writing too many poems for him. He was like, you gotta stop. So I had to put some off to the side. So this is one of the poems that got put off to the side. The other poems just got published today. I thought they were supposed to come out tomorrow, if even that early, but the book actually came out today on Amazon. So this is my book with him. Light travels faster than sound. Unfortunately, can't celebrate with him because he's in Georgia and in jail. So I will be writing him some more poems through email soon. Okay, so here is a poem that did not make it into that book. It got pushed aside for another project. Thank you. Generations cross, tectonic shifts that raise debris, layer up and layer up as such, make what was stratified unstratified, hit, undo, and disaggregate and integrate. Let the teachers teach the students, and the students do inversely so. All learn under the tutelage of burnt grass, belts still smoking in New York streets, belt with sole and shoes when men still walked and talked, still gestured with their hands, and almost nearly would have almost tripped if maybe they didn't, but did, and fell and landed in the streets. But that was just a moment in which a friend could catch them in their falling, and all the while the talking does not cease. What beauty this between us. His lines and his lines and his lines, meeting mine, nesting dolls, each inside the other, three spirits, each with fingers on one side of the parachute. Now and now, now and then, as we never without those guiding hands. Breathe. Oh, how lovely it is to have hallucinated these streets. Thank you. Am I okay on time?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. The next two poems were inspired by a poem that I wrote for David Groff's workshop about kind of arc of time in between the height of the AIDS crisis and this kind of moment of prep. And so these poems approach the subject of AIDS after Susan Sontag. So Susan Sontag wrote AIDS and Its Metaphors. So these poems, in my personal framing, are AIDS after its metaphors, because now we're looking at a cocktail that improves life and extends life all the way up to PrEP, which has kind of created this belief that people don't get AIDS anymore. So these poems take place in that span of time.
When were they written? I'm sorry.
Oh, these poems, they were written a couple weeks ago, but they
I thought you meant.
Yeah, they're about the arc of time between about 1992, when the first really good AIDS cocktail came out, and then probably about 2016 is probably the cutoff point when PrEP became so widely available. So that's the place where the speaker is coming from, is in those years. These don't have titles. There are places I cannot go in our house anymore. There are places where I see you, smiles and cigarettes, talking with your hands, smoke dancing in an argument with the air. Couch, I say to the couch sometimes, have you felt weight? I wait for him to answer. He says nothing, and I say, no ghosts. We agree on this. The circle for pacing gets smaller. The refrigerator brings me chills, pangs of loneliness, thinking of the fading bodies inside, the mysterious light, off when it is off, on when it is on. The bathroom, where washcloths fell from slumped shoulders, into water dinged with piss and dead skin, soap and schluff. No afterimage in the closet. Lack of reflection in all mirrors. The bed in the bedroom, half untouched, empty of weight and heavy with lightness. Where can I walk? One cat runs to places where cats go and humans can't find them. Another to rooms too haunted for spirits to visit. And our third cat, dead, mewing at your feet as he follows you from the dawn dew-covered bed into the kitchen where the refrigerator light shines out as you take the cream for your coffee and the last half of a can of tuna to dump into the bowl where we put pictures of ourselves so the cats wouldn't miss us when we were gone. I don't go into the hallway anymore. I think I hear your keys in the door and one cat purring. Thank you. This next one is from the same series of poems. It also doesn't have a title, and it kind of addresses the issue of giving blood. I still cannot give blood. And it isn't because you were positive and I was negative, but because we were tangled. We tangled 4 hairy legs, and when you came inside me in the little latex sack, you were coming in the void of my ass. And even though I've managed to stay uninfected but fettered, even though I've kept a sheer sheath of rubber between me and every lover since I watched 2/3 of our friends and fuck buddies have tattered, bleached white sheets pulled up over their heads, mothers, nuns, and angry dykes, picking up what's left and putting it in boxes. I said, you can give my queer blood to queer people. I said, let me save the life of an intravenous drug user. I said, surely some baby is drawing first breath now, unaware of just how doomed they were with mother's milk and poison veins. Give my blood to them. I said, I didn't come for the juice and cookies. I came because there is always a war raging, and my blood is not queer or clean. It is simply life I bleed. Thank you. This is the next poem I have prepared. It's a little longish, not super long. And then if you want, I have some music videos that I've worked on, some like installation pieces I'm trying to create, or I can take questions, or we can stop early. It's up to you.
That's awesome. Yeah, that would be great if you could show us.
Yeah, I'll be happy to. Okay, so this last poem is called I Want to Close the Streets of Manhattan. And I wrote this poem because my partner went back to bed to take a nap one morning when I was teaching. I'm a high school teacher. When I was teaching on Zoom. And there were a lot of people in the street honking. Imagine that in New York. And so I had to write this. I want to close the streets of Manhattan and the parts of the Bronx where the streets are too narrow for garbage trucks to be circumnavigated by cars with GPS phones, yet we stole the land with a sextant and a backstaff, or rather we bought it with beads and trinkets worth less than 2 movie tickets to see the story of such a trade. I want to close the streets of Manhattan and put in subway lines that connect across red lines, the drive, the people, unferried from Brooklyn and Queens without the need for a green book or a thin blue line. I want to close the streets of Manhattan and make it so everybody wants to walk, and every stoop becomes a southern porch with sweet tea and mint julep and crisp gin and dark whiskey and warm beer and talking hellos through puffs of black and mild hookah smoke, and cattails are just for cats in the alley, and catcalls too, who get invited out with scraps of sturgeon and pike to make friends in the city where no one is or goes astray. I want to close the streets of Manhattan and take off my shirt under the sun and sweat with my neighbors as our hands go numb from the vibrations of the jackhammers rattling loose the concrete and asphalt from the earth, and tanned or red or glowing vibrant browns, we ungentrifying these still holy grounds. I want to close the streets of Manhattan, and in the void of the car's old paths, I will invite strangers in and plant gardens so that nothing ever again can be delivered, so that the grandmother in the 13th floor of the projects where the elevator never works and as a result hasn't left the house because the stairs hurt too much, in this Manhattan She is a mage, a witch, a healer. She teaches the old ways of canning and jam making so that every person in this 22-mile-long hamlet can survive the winter. I want to close the streets of Manhattan and take pleasure in what isn't silence, but still is absence, no honking, but hollering. Hey, did you see the corn? It grew 3 feet this week, or possibly. Take the green peppers, but leave the red ones for me. I want to close the streets of Manhattan and spend weekends lightless beside a campfire in Inwood Park, sleeping tentless and eating myself nearly sick on the blackberries and strawberries that line the entire length of Broadway. I want to close the streets of Manhattan and suspend the tolls, but keep the bridges as observation decks for the youth who build boats and race down the rivers with sails of bed sheets and worn underwear, platforms that become daylit classrooms, and at night all the lonely folk come out to cruise the benches and take off into the woods for forever or momentary green marriages, before exchanging not phone numbers when cruising, but addresses that sound like grandfather directions. Okay, I'm where Google used to be, on the south end, but where the elders planted that big apple tree. I want you to pick 3 Golden Delicious, throw one up on my fire escape to let me know you're there. 3rd floor, 5th window, and bring the other 2 up for us to eat. I made fig preserves and have a crusty loaf of oat bread, and I saved some cheddar cheese. Maybe we can go read Waiting for Godot on the roof until we fall asleep. I want to close the streets of Manhattan and be with, not against, the rats and squirrels and possums and raccoons, all the life we miss because the beauty of the business gets in the way of a reality of emptiness. I want to close the streets of Manhattan and walk the length of the island barefoot until the end of this world. I see the shadow of Columbia, our Colossus, casting her shadow like a sundial that says, "Shh, my children, it will be dark soon. Rest now in the streets of Manhattan." Thank you.